Welcome to episode 96 of the Family Geekery Podcast. I'm Danny.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Chris.
And today, our topic is Fallout.
Yeah, finally.
It's been long enough.
That's right. We're going to be talking about Fallout, the game series. Just a brief overview on history since it's a long history. We're just going to touch on it a little bit, but we got to find out where we're starting with. And then we're going to talk about the new TV show on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But first,
Geeky Weeks.
Who's kicking us off with Geeky Weeks?
you should.
I should.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I've spent a crazy amount of time on that game, that Galactic Survivor, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor that I talked about, I think, last week.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of consumed me, but like I said, it's one of those games that you finish a game, you're like, darn it, I could have done better, and then you try right again. So that's kind of a time sucker for me. But I did fire up Fallout 3 last night.
Oh.
Yeah, just to replay through the kind of the intro part of the game to get a good feel for the setting that game is in, and relearn how that felt now that it's 15 years old, 16 years old.
Wow.
But still playable, and Steam's got the Fallout 3 with all the DLCs on sale right now for obvious reasons. For like $5, so
Wow.
you can't beat that.
Nice.
And then we did a little scavenger hunt also in King's Dominion on Sunday. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun.
It was.
All three of us. Family Geekery was well represented.
Yeah. And we did well too.
Yeah. We placed. Yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Well, for this episode, I loaded up some Fallout Shelter mobile game. Restarted for the 100th time. And I didn't get very far. My people are starving, and there's no water. So
that's not good.
Oh no.
Sounds like you're low on power.
No, I'm good on power. They're just hungry and thirsty.
Oh, the cafe and the water treatment plant aren't shut down because of power outages.
Yeah.
I was playing some of that today, and I've got like no weapons, and the raiders came.
Oh.
And I'm trying to beat them up with my fists, and there's 3 raiders. I was able to kill 2 of them, and one actually ran out the vault. The third one just fled. I've never seen that happen before.
I've never seen that happen either.
So, yeah, great game. Great game. We'll talk about that too.
Yep. But other than that, the scavenger hunt was fun. And that's about it for me.
Cool. What about you, Amber?
I've been playing a time suck game on my phone. I've succumbed to the advertisements that I've seen, and I got AFK Journey, which is actually pretty fun. I'm enjoying it quite a bit, and I've been slowing down with progress a bit, but not as immediately as like other like AFK games like that. And there's a lot of mini games that are just like really fun, even if I don't like get the best resources from them. So I'm enjoying it.
I saw an advertisement for that. I've seen a lot of advertisements for that.
Yeah.
I saw one with Ninja. Have you seen that one?
Really? No.
Yeah. And if you look at some of those advertisements, you know how sometimes there's a semi-famous person. Not that Ninja is semi-famous. He's fairly famous in his realm. But if you've seen like One Tree Hill, actors advertising games before, look in the corner And sometimes, if the developers aren't savvy enough and hide it, you can see the word cameo, like
Oh, like they're
watermarked on there.
paying them with
So they paid
Cameo
like
to do it.
$25 to some random actor
Oh my
to say,
gosh.
"Hey, talk about this game for 30 seconds."
That's crazy.
I thought that was pretty brilliant on the advertiser's part. Get some big name.
Nice. Besides that, I'm still playing Fire Emblem. And I feel like there was something else, but oh well.
Oh well.
Oh well. So is that it for Geeky Weeks?
Sounds like it.
Think so.
All right. Let's get right into our topic, which is going to be Fallout. And let's kind of set the scene by going all the way back to 1997 and talking about the OG Fallout game. And before we even get to 1997, we have to talk a tiny bit about Interplay, which is a company that made Fallout. And Interplay was a game company that had some pretty good titles. Bard's Tale, the Bard's Tale trilogy. And if you're not familiar with that, that's probably one of the best series of RPGs of its time. It's been rebooted several times into modern days, but the original Bard's Tale, they were kind of land breaking. And they also made a game called Wasteland, which was basically an RPG, very similar mechanic to the Bard's Tale games as far as combat goes. But it was a top-down RPG, turn-based game set in a post-apocalyptic America. And if you've probably heard me mention that game before, girls, because that's probably number 1 or number 2 all-time favorite game for me.
I think you had me play it one time, and I was really confused.
Yeah.
Was it all like text based?
I mean the combat is.
Mm.
It's very typical of the early Final Fantasy type games where you just hit attack,
Yeah.
or defend or run. But that was a well-received game at the time, and then also around that same time period, they made a little game called Baldur's Gate.
Oh.
And in this time frame between all those games and then everything else that was going on at the same time, like Diablo, Baldur's Gate, the Ultima series, which was ongoing since the early 80s, the RPGs were really starting to make a big comeback because they were really popular. And then as computers got better and you could actually like move characters around with joysticks and stuff and not have to do turn-based stuff, the RPGs kind of died a little bit. You get into like the Mario Brothers type games and that becomes real popular. But then these type of games bringing back deep stories really made the RPGs come back into popularity. So with all that happening, they started working. Interplay started working on a new game engine, and they're making this game engine based on the tabletop role-playing game GURPS. Have you ever heard of GURPS?
No.
No?
So GURPS, instead of basically the gaming system of most tabletop games at the time, were like D&D, where you roll for your character's stats and stuff.
Yeah.
And in GURPS, you've got player stats, and you start off with a certain amount of points, and you allocate those points into the different things. So you can say, I want more strength.
Personality style.
Yeah. And a lot of RPGs since then have gone into that type of style. Well, what had happened is they started using the GURPS system, but Steve Jackson of Steve Jackson Games, very famous tabletop creator for a lot of tabletop games.
I know
back
him.
in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, all the way to today. He said, I don't think I want you guys using our system on a game that you're describing to us because it sounds pretty gory and violent.
Oh.
So I guess Dungeons and Dragons is fine. That kind of stuff is fine. But when you start talking about ghouls and, smashing people into blood sausages and that kind of stuff, he said, we'd rather you not use that. Not in that terms. I think he used legal terms like you can't do it. So the designers that were there at Fallout created a new character customization scheme called Special. And you've seen that through all the games, even in the mobile game that Danny was talking about, where you allocate your different points to strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck, which is a great combination. Wasteland used a very similar combination, but you tie that in also with a skills-based system where you can allocate points into skills. Maybe you want the guy to be a better talker. Maybe you want the guy to be a better fighter, that kind of stuff. And that affects your gameplay. So,
and Special's really easy to remember.
yeah. It's a great system. So they're just working on this game engine, and they decide, hey, let's go ahead and make a game out of this and put it in this post-apocalyptic type setting. And they decided to allocate, I think it was only like $3 million budget for the game. And they started fleshing it out with the story and building the engine some more and stuff. And they drew a lot of artistic styling from the 1950s literature, all the atomic age type stuff, the post, atom bomb type stuff that was going on. And a lot of films were famous back then for that style. Mad Max, A Boy and His Dog, and then a couple others. So they're drawing some artistic styling from that, with a lot of playing in a lot of humor to, how in the 50s they were really trying to play down the threat of a nuclear war. They were making everything seem so happy and stuff, but you can see that style kind of play through everything, including the show that we'll talk about. But they start fleshing out the story, how Fallout's going to take place, almost 100 years after the nuclear war between U.S. and China. I thought that was interesting that even in we're not quite in the Cold War of the 80s, and
we're
the end of the Cold
falling.
Wars. This is the 90s, but still they didn't choose Russia as the fictional adversary. They choose China. That was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes place after that nuclear fallout between those two countries, and they follow the Vault Dweller, who was raised in Vault 13.
Oh.
So they wanted Fallout to be kind of the successor to Wasteland, but the problem was Electronic Arts distributed Wasteland, and they didn't have the rights. They couldn't secure the rights from Electronic Arts to say that they were a successor to Wasteland, a sequel.
Thanks, EA.
Yeah, but I think EA lost out on that one. I think they would have done better if they did, but they refused to license the Wasteland product name to them. But later on in later years, the original creators of Wasteland actually did some crowdsourcing and made Wasteland 2 and Wasteland 3. So that's how we get to Fallout. Interplay releases it on Windows and then some Macintosh type stuff, but it's definitely a PC game. And we're going to see that that's how the first couple actually play out, is going to be a PC game. So while they were doing that, just before they released Fallout in 1997, they already started working on Fallout 2, and they didn't have a lot of time or money to do so, because even though it was a successful game, not a hugely successful game, because they're competing against Diablo and Baldur's Gate at the same time, and everybody's very familiar with those style of RPGs. They're not so much familiar with a post-apocalyptic RPG. So they had a little bit of time and a little bit of money to put into Fallout 2. So basically the engine was identical. A lot of the game systems were identical. They just made more stories. Since they had a time crunch, they kind of borrowed some humor and callbacks to pop culture stuff. So this is where Fallout starts getting some of its Easter eggy type mentality of putting humor like Monty Python and stuff like that, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, those type of references in these games, just because it
Oh.
was quicker to throw those homages in there than it was to create new stories. I think I saw a screenshot at some point of one of the Fallout games having Jabba the Hutt in it for some reason.
What?
Yeah. So they released that in under a year. They get it done and released. And that one, despite being so rushed and despite not being a huge upgrade, it became a fan favorite because of that, baked in humor.
Silliness.
Yeah, because of that humor that they baked in there, it became pretty popular. So that was I think they worked with Black Isle, which is another gaming company, to get that one worked on as they're still finishing up. Interplay was still finishing up Fallout. So that gets us through the first two, and then it's not 10 years later until we get to Fallout 3. Now we'll talk about a couple spin-offs in between. There was Fallout Tactics, subtitled The Brotherhood of Steel, which I think you guys have heard of. So Fallout Tactics was not so much a story-based game, but it just really worked on the combat system, and it was more of just a combat, non-open world type game, but just a small story that was fleshed out with mostly combat. So they did that in 2001. They did another game called Fallout Brotherhood of Steel in 2004, and that was released on PlayStation 2 and Xbox. And that's because they wanted to start getting into, or I guess they're the people giving them money, wanted them to get into console type games. So PlayStation 2 and Xbox, the biggest consoles of that time. So that one's more, it looked more like a Diablo style game, where it's less like point and clicking and walking around and more like controlling your character, walking around and fighting.
Oh.
So that was Fallout Brotherhood of Steel in 2004. And then in the process of all this, I don't think they're doing great with money, especially after they got in a little battle, legal battle with a company called Bethesda.
I was about to ask when Bethesda came in and did Bethesda things.
There was some licensing that was going on for a Fallout Online, and they were working on a Fallout Online, and I think Bethesda was going to be the publisher on that, but Interplay couldn't do all the demands that they made. They made some pretty strict demands on what would be in the game, and it wasn't working out. And in the process of trying to make the game and trying to meet these demands, I think they just ran low on money and defaulted on the contract, and just I think that's how Bethesda ends up with the rights to Fallout at that point. So Interplay sold off the rights to Bethesda, and at that point they just scrapped the Fallout Online game.
That sounds so cool, though.
Yeah. And then they go to Fallout 3. So 2008, Fallout 3. This is going to be another console game, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. And this is where we get into the new style of the Fallout games, where it's first person. It's actually first person and third person selectable. But a complete overhaul of no more turn-based. It's all action-related. Combat is action, first-person shooter type combat. But because people loved the precise turn-based structure of combat, they did bake in some like turn-based thing. I forget the name for it, but you basically do a slow motion, and you can like target the enemy's like arm or something like that,
kind of like the Deadeye in Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, and it used action points, which is how the combat in Fallout 1 and 2 based their combat. It was all action point related, meaning within your combat sequence, different things that you did, whether it was moving or fighting, took different action points, and you would do the same thing in that combat. So it was a mix mash of real time, combat and a little bit of Deadeye action, way before its time. So 2008, Fallout 3, everybody loved it. They had several DLCs for that. They had some other, spin-offs in that time frame. Fallout New Vegas, which was done done by Obsidian, which I think was some people that broke off of Interplay maybe, and helped out with that.
Did Obsidian make Skyrim?
Yes, but at the time they were more famous for the games just before the Elder Scrolls, right?
Yeah,
Elder
yeah, yeah.
Scrolls 3,
Yeah.
I think, was the engine that they used for that Fallout New Vegas. And I think they consider Fallout New Vegas to be like the last like pieces of the original Fallout people in there. But it was well received. And then we had a little bit of break in time until they had like an E3, right? They're at a game expo or something. They're making a big announcement and they're like, we've got a new game coming, and everybody's just like chomping at the bit for Fallout 4 because Fallout 3 was so popular. And they're like, we've got Fallout Shelter for you.
Oh no.
But no, that's what Diablo did. Diablo came out and said, major announcement, here's a mobile game for you. And that was it. But what Bethesda did was said, hey, we've got Fallout 4 coming out in a couple months. But to keep you guys happy, we got Fallout Shelter out, and it's available today. So they dropped that complete
Wow.
surprise. It was available today. I think the theming on that game was freaking awesome. Very enjoyable gameplay, very familiar to all the aspects of the Fallout games. So that was a good thing to keep people, busy for a couple months. And it's still going 9 years later, but
Yeah.
keep people going for a couple months until Fallout 4 came out. And Fallout 4, it was definitely prettier and better graphics, better. They had honed in all the skills of a first person type game, as far as like making the combat a little bit more forgiving for like preciseness and stuff. So it was good, but I think they fell short maybe on the story a little bit. So it's got kind of mixed reviews from purists, but I think it was successful nonetheless.
Yeah.
And so we're waiting for Fallout 5, obviously, but they had a couple other things come out. Fallout Pinball in 2016, and basically it's Zen Studios made that. So Zen makes all the themed pinball games, if you've ever seen those. Bethesda made Fallout 76 in 2018. And what was that famous for? What was the hook on
Not
that one?
working.
What?
Oh.
It was the online game that everybody always waited for. So that game had no human NPCs. So you were going to create your own world online with the other players, to include such things as, like, if enough people find the bits and pieces of the launch codes, you could actually launch nukes and target a certain area. That one was all West Virginia based. It was all set in West Virginia. So you could launch a nuke somewhere, and that area would then, well, first of all, everything in that area would be gone. And then second, it would increase the mutations of all the creatures and stuff like that in that area. So the world could completely change based on how the players played.
Wow.
So that one, again, had mixed criticisms about it, but it's been going for a while. It's Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. And it had a lot of DLCs also. And then there was this one was a surprise to me, Fallout Shelter Online in 2019.
What?
And I was like, what is that about? Is that just an update to Fallout Shelter that puts a couple online features into it? No, it's completely different. And the reason we don't know about it is because it's not released in the American market.
So, where is it?
Overseas. So it's an iOS and Android app, but it's only available, I think, in some Asian countries and a couple of European countries. For us, we still just have regular old vanilla Fallout Shelter, which they've updated for the recent release of the show. But over the years, that one has been tied into, PC and Switch and PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, iOS, Android, Windows. So that one is everywhere for us, and cloud save, so you can crossplay. So that is my my brief and concise history of the Fallout game series. What do you guys think?
You nailed it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any one of those games could have a 2-hour documentary on them. I just tried
I'm
to
sure they do.
get the gist of what the game is, so we can talk now about the show. But before we talk about the show, besides Fallout Shelter, have you guys had any experience with any of the games?
I watched you play it. That's about it.
What was I playing?
Fallout 4?
Okay.
Maybe?
I also have a very distinct memory of watching you play Fallout 4 like late at night, and I fell asleep watching you play it. And I woke up and you were like in the Commonwealth or something, and I was like, "Oh, wow, this is way different." But I've played a little bit of Fallout 4. It's one of those games that I'm sure I've told the story on the podcast before, but I played it initially at my friend's house because she got it like right when it came out. And I was just like, "Ooh, fun." And then of course I didn't have the game, and I barely went over to that friend's house. So I like didn't have it for a while. And then years later I got it again on Steam and started it up and didn't play very much, but it's the character creation's really cool. And that's one of my favorite things in every game. And the intro is just so fun, seeing Codsworth and getting to pick a name that he'll actually say, and like scrolling through the lists of like, what weird things can you make Codsworth say? And
Yeah.
and it's funny.
Is that the robot that's in the house that you start off in?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I played a lot of Fallout Shelter. A lot.
That game is really fun until it gets just unmanageable and gets really, really big.
Oh, I don't know. Mine, I managed to recently when I played it a couple months ago. I was doing all the, Thanksgiving events and the Halloween events, and it was funny.
You're just a supreme overseer then.
I am. Yeah, I'm like 10 or 11 floors down, full up.
Nice.
Yeah, my people are dying.
They're going to start revolting.
Well, it might have been because I impregnated all my women and then realized that those women cannot work once. I think they can't work when they're like almost having the baby.
No, they can work. They just can't defend.
Yeah, so they just run around screaming.
Yeah. Anytime something happens.
Like if there's a fire or something, they won't put it out.
And I think like your food goes down faster when you get more people or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking about character creation, it made me remember, if you want to be really impressed by something, remember how small the team was that made Fallout 1. Go watch some gameplay of Fallout 1. Now, you've probably seen the isometric style of game it is. But whenever they had NPC interactions that were some of the main story characters, they actually had, voice actors for it. I think Harry Dean Anderson was one of them. I forget who one of the other ones was. But famous people. But the impressive thing is the motion capture that they did for this very old game and this very simplified graphics game of the talking heads, what they call the talking heads, which is basically the voiceover, person that you're seeing and you're making your conversation with. But they actually built like clay models
Yeah.
of the characters, and then they did motion capture, like a very early version of motion capture on the clay characters. So it looks really good for its time.
Yeah, I've been seeing videos like TikToks and stuff that showed clips, and I was like, wait, this is Fallout 1? Like what? Um but yeah, I watched a video that was like the entire history of Fallout, because it was like, oh, this all happened because they went to the moon, or but then they didn't invent this thing, so now it's all blah 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 alternate reality and stuff. So
Right. Yeah.
it was cool to like get more context, because of course I haven't played the games, so getting more context of the world, you know, just from like a 90-second TikTok.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. They have a pretty well fleshed out lore that the Uber fans like to protect, and sometimes some of the games kind of break the lore. And now they're saying maybe the TV show broke some of the lore, but
You kind of have
yeah,
to.
yeah, they've got a pretty neat lore as far as why they went into war in the first place. I think it had to do with coal production. People were running out of coal, so they were invading other countries to
Wow.
keep that engine going. But yeah, neat story, which was tried to be made into a movie, I think back in 2010, and that didn't
Really?
happen. I think it was actually Interplay had a movie company division at that time, and they were going to do something. It just never happened. But along comes this idea, this announcement in 2020. Hey, we're going to make a show, and
What?
Amazon Prime's going to do it. And we got a couple names that you may find familiar that are going to be taking care of all the writing and producing and stuff. And that's Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. What do you know about Jonathan Nolan and his wife, Lisa?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
Mm-mm.
What if I said he was the brother of Christopher Nolan?
I was gonna be silly and be like, oh, I know he's got the same last name as the director,
Right.
but I didn't say that because I thought that was stupid and just a coincidence.
So I didn't know this, but they've been working together for a long time. They worked together on the Dark Knight movies.
Oh,
I think Jonathan Nolan wrote either a short story or a screenplay or something called Memento Mori, which Christopher Nolan turned into the movie Memento, which is an
that's a
awesome
good
movie.
movie.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, Jonathan Nolan is not just the brother that gets pulled along with the big name Christopher Nolan. He's done some stuff too. Like he and Lisa Joy did Westworld,
Oh,
which is a great credit to have when you're going to take on a project like Fallout.
yeah.
So he's got some good shows and movies under his belt. They get the nod to do this show, and they get a couple good names for the actors, and there's been lots of cameos and stuff of people that
Mm-hmm.
no spoiler alerts, but sometimes they don't last very long.
Oh,
But some pretty big name actors have popped up in there. But let's talk about the cast real quick. Ella Purnell as Lucy.
Yeah.
What do we think about Ella Purnell?
Oh, she's great. I didn't know this, but she was in that movie Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children that I watched based on the book. That was nothing like the book, but it's okay. So,
That was
and
quite
that
some
was
time
years
ago. Then
ago.
she must have been
Yeah,
a
that
little
was she
girl
was
on
a
that.
kid. Yeah.
Okay.
Um but she's doing a great job with this.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And I was seeing all these interviews with her before I knew that she was like the lead in Fallout, and she was like, yeah, when I was on Peregrine, I was like doing, the method actor thing. I was like, I'm playing an American character, so I'm only going to talk in an American accent. And I was like, what? And seeing this, I'm like, what? She's British? Hello?
They hide it so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. Her father, which I don't have his name in front of me, I've seen him in other things before. Um, he does a great job. I love the scene where they're in like the little orchard or whatever, getting ready for the wedding, and
Yeah.
he waves up to his daughter. And if you watch that scene again, he's got his legs spread out wide, and he's waving up to the daughter who's on the next platform up or whatever. And it's just like the classic Vault Boy type pose, except without the thumbs up. It's just a wave, but the legs spread out wide while he's standing there, just awkwardly so. But it just fits in this show. Like no one would normally stand that way unless you're drawn that way.
Yeah.
But he does great. We got Rico from Hannah Montana
Right?
Yeah.
as an
Moises
aged a
Arias.
day. No, he's. I'm interested to see where his character goes, because all we've seen in the 2 episodes that I've watched so far is they're really playing up the fact that he is a scaredy cat.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He gets screen time.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see how his character progresses through the story. We got Walter Goggins. I don't know how many things you've seen with him in it, but
He's the ghoul.
He's the ghoul. Yep.
He looks familiar to me, but maybe he just like has a familiar like old Hollywood type face. I don't
He
know.
was in Justified. That's probably the one of the biggest things he did. He's kind of the bad guy that turns good guy. He's one of the bad guys that you just like. So I think you can see that in this, where he may be the antagonist, but darn, you love to see him crack his jokes. But he's played that same type of character in a lot of different things. So I love everything that he's been in. And I really like what they're doing with his character.
He gave me some sound apocalypse advice with the thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea that was why Vault Boy did a thumbs up. Like,
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's like, a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so cool. I was like, huh? Vault Boy? He's just checking for explosions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's checking the mushroom clouds.
I like the part when he tells his daughter, I don't know if his daughter, I think it's his daughter, and then it happens and she's like, my thumb or your thumb?
That actress, for that little bit of screen time, did a spectacular job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the same exact thing.
The fear in her eyes, the fear in her face, the pure fright that she displayed in those couple seconds was just incredible.
Yeah. Especially because, like, it looks great in the show, the explosion and stuff, but she's not staring at that.
Yeah,
she's staring
probably
probably
looking
at a green screen.
Green screen.
Like,
they're like, imagine if this happens. Go.
But no, I literally said out loud, wow, she's a great actress.
Meanwhile, the director's just pulling up a picture of a guy with an infected foot or something and showing it to her to get her to do a reaction. Like, pretend this is what you're looking at. But yeah, the visual styling of the show, I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind that it matches the games. It matches the overall style, the retro futuristic style.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. They nailed the vault suits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how they got them to be that blue and yellow. Like those colors are easy to make on a computer, but they somehow made them in real life too. So
they up the saturation.
Yeah, the vault suits are great. The T-60 power armor. Are you kidding me?
It looked cool.
Watching the guys, do the slow motion walk towards the camera, and like the one, I guess knight, right? They call them knights. Cracks his neck, as he's walking towards the camera. Just the quick cracks the neck, and they kind of like shrug the shoulders like they're you know uh, suiting up or whatever as they're walking towards the camera. That scene is just awesome. Now, if you've ever seen any videos of real big robots, like Japan actually made a real big robot, like they tried to make a mecha.
Mhm.
Oh,
they,
really?
they don't move very agile. There's
Yeah.
no agility in their movement. It's like just real big, heavy pieces of metal moving slowly. But seeing these power armors come to life like that, and just the attitude that they're walking with is just awesome.
Yeah.
But that power armor, that's straight out of Fallout 4. They've had
Mhm.
other different versions of power armor through the different games, but the T60 is specific to Fallout 4. So I think they're sticking close with that. If the show goes on, they may start maybe throwing some things in that might make it into Fallout 5. Maybe use that as like a beta test or something.
Oh.
But yeah, they're drawing a lot of stuff from Fallout 4, obviously because their models and computer models are probably already made of those.
Is there a Fallout 5 in development?
I'm sure there's got to be.
It's just going to take another 20 years.
Yeah. TBA. But the styling's great. We're starting off with 3 very distinct stories that only take 2 episodes to converge. like
Yeah.
Mhm.
like they got these 3 very completely different stories all together quick. Thought that was kind of cool. We knew it was going to happen. I just
Yeah.
didn't know it was
Yeah.
going to happen in episode 2. But yeah, we got a great cast, great story so far. Like I said, I think Danny and I have only watched the first 2 episodes. Amber, you've watched,
Mhm.
you said, what,
4.
4
Oh,
episodes?
Yeah.
you likey.
I like E. I like E a lot.
Yeah, I'm almost trying to pace myself a little bit because I know there's only 8 episodes, and even if they made the announcement that hey, there's going to be a season 2, it would be a while before it came out. So
Yeah.
I don't want to burn through it and then forget about it forever.
Well, fun fact, the if you play Fallout Shelter, you get a free Vault 33 suit
Nice.
for your
Yeah,
character.
yeah. There's supposed to be some of the actual people like Lucy and stuff are going to be in that game.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have like the cards that you unlock that give you
Yeah, like
new
special
people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably the overseer, maybe the ghoul. I like the shop owner lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She,
Majun.
yeah, she's been in a lot of movies throughout the years.
Yeah.
And My Name Is Earl. She was in that as a recurring character, that TV show. But yeah, so far so good. I think that's the best I can say it about this show so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's a good watch. You guys need to finish it. Like, I know we don't always finish the things that we talk about, but this one we need to finish.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
There's so many things to finish.
There's only 8 episodes.
I'm I'm gonna go back and play all the mainline games too. I've got to. You know
Okay.
how I think last episode it was I talked about my embarrassing list of games that I haven't played enough of.
Mm-hmm.
Adding some more to that.
Yeah. I mean, I played the original Fallout, didn't finish it, but I played it. I wasn't real stricken at the time with the game's play style because I was just so used to Wasteland. I wanted it to be another Wasteland, and it wasn't. It was different enough that it didn't fully capture my attention at the time. Fallout 2, I never even tried because of that. And it sounds like Fallout 2 is the one that I should have played because I think the story would have kept me going through the mechanics. And then 3 and 4, I played both of them, but didn't finish either one of them. So I got to go back and I got to get some more stick time in those games.
Have you played like the other Wasteland games?
No. I think I kickstarted Wasteland 2.
Mm.
And then they had the Wasteland Remastered, which came out a couple of years ago, which is just a much prettier engine, but the same exact story and mechanics.
Mm.
I started playing that one through because, again, that's favorite game of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And it did have a lot of that quirky humor in it. The guys that made that game threw a lot of quirky humor in there. But yeah, there's just a lot of mechanics in that made it a great game. I think another thing about Fallout 1, so Wasteland, I played the heck out of it, right? I had it on the Apple II, played the heck out of it. You could just keep on playing. Now you can win the game, and I won the game. But you could keep on playing and keep on leveling up your characters like some unrealistic amount of time. And I did just to see how OP I could make my party of characters. And that was the fun of it. I mean, we're talking years of playing this game. With Fallout 1, they were smart in the sense that I think they knew that you may be in an open world setting, you may be tempted to do something like that and do too many side quests and never finish the game. So they put a time limit on it. And game time, not like play time, but game story time. Because I think the whole gist of it is, the water purifying system is broken. You have to go out into the overworld to find the parts to fix it.
Oh.
And I think by giving you I forget what it was, 150 days or something limit, if you don't make it by then the people in the vault don't have water anymore. So
that's crazy. Imagine getting like almost done and then it turning to day 150.
Right.
Wow.
So I think that was a neat design choice, and I think it was something that he added on. The developer added on like towards the end of development. Like, hey, let's add this to it. But those games very heavily dialogue driven, as far as like your missions that you have to complete. You could either just go out there and just kill everybody and take what you need, or you can go out there and silver tongue your way through, negotiations and win the game that way too.
That's what the C in special is for.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to like the Civilization games where you're supposed to use democracy and stuff to, win the game. But I just always use all-out warfare, technical prowess, and an army of unimaginable size to spread peace throughout the world.
Oh my
own
gosh.
methods.
Okay, Fire Nation.
But there is supposed to be a diplomatic way to win those games also. So that's always a neat aspect to games. So what do you think? You think we covered Fallout for our first Fallout episode of this podcast?
Yeah. You guys need to come and learn how to play Magic, and we can use the Fallout decks.
That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't cover any of the spinoffs. I covered only the video game spinoffs. There were tabletop spinoffs and, like Amber just mentioned, a
collaboration, I guess.
Collaboration with Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get my T60 power armor.
Come on, there's a whole deck based around dog meat. So
Dog meat's a character.
Dog meat's a dog.
Right. Yeah, character. Not I'm just saying it's not actually dog meat.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the dog in Fallout 4.
Right. I wanted people to understand there wasn't
That's good.
senseless slaughtering of dogs in this card game.
Well,
I'll take my squirrel deck and launch it towards your dog meat deck. Yeah, that was fun. It was fun learning the history, even though I lived through all of it and watched it all unfold. I didn't get deep enough into it, so it was fun learning that history of the different games. And
Yeah.
it's always fun to learn about how one company ends up with the rights to it over a different company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes not for the best, but it's okay. Bethesda seemed to have made some good games.
They've made a couple. Yeah, cool. I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We thank you as always for listening. Let us know what your favorite Fallout entry in history is. If you love some of the games, if you love the current show, if you wanted to see a movie in
I
2010
want
but didn't get to.
Nuka-Cola IRL.
Yeah, I'm sure there is Nuka-Cola somewhere.
Probably.
There's probably a Nuka-Cola machine up at Bethesda headquarters.
Yeah, they're hoarding it.
Quick little side story. Friend of the podcast, Brian Horton.
Yeah.
Can't name drop that enough. He
Go listen to episode 25.
he brought his son. This is several years ago, but he just reshared it on Facebook. You know, the Facebook memory. He brought his son to Bethesda headquarters, and they gave him a full tour. And his son
Whoa.
is a huge Bethesda fan.
Wow.
So he said that was like the highlight of his life at that point, was going and seeing that. I think they've got like life-size T60 armors in the
Whoa.
foyer and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So seems like a pretty cool bunch that works there. Maybe Family Geek will have to get a tour up there someday.
Yeah, hit us up.
Hit us up, Bethesda. We're right down the road from you.
Mhm.
I won't say bad things about you. I'm glad you have Fallout instead of EA. You've done a much better job than they would have done.
Less microtransactions.
Yeah.
Even though there is a gotcha
Less
system
games,
too.
but less microtransactions.
I did watch a couple ads in Fallout Shelter today. Support the devs. Watch some ads.
Me
Really?
too.
I never watched ads in Fallout Shelter.
I watch them to get supplies.
Yeah,
What supplies? Is this new?
It's capped at every 4 hours, so it's not obnoxious at all.
You can
Oh, maybe I did watch those.
you can also watch ads to have a successful speed up.
Yeah, to do a rush.
Oh, I just gamble. I'm saying 40%. That's fine. Oh, it failed.
67%.
Okay, whatever. Just train luck.
Nice.
That was my current goal. Is get everybody to max out every single special. It's not working.
That's always the goal, but then you end up with a million people. And
I just wish that people that are working in the radio station leveled up. Like, they level up if they work in, anywhere. But if they're in the radio station, they don't even level up. So I've got like level
charisma?
4 people like recruiting my stuff.
Oh, you gotta move them around.
I guess.
You gotta manage those peoples.
But then I won't know who the baby daddy and baby mommies are. It's the ones in the lingerie.
Yeah,
You can't go changing outfits.
that's
I'll
right.
forget who the people with the highest charisma are.
I know I'll end up with cousin stuff.
Cousin stuff. Maybe the best lines of the show so far. That's not a sustainable sexual activity. That's my favorite
There's a
line
reason
so far.
for that.
Yeah, we have rules against that. Well, on that note, let us know about your favorite cousin stuff activities.
Oh goodness.
Ew.
Email us at
Oh,
podcast
goodness.
at familygeekery.com.
Please don't.
Let us know your favorite Fallout stuff. We'll be happy to learn that. But thank you as always for listening. Check out the socials. Check out the YouTube channel. See what's going on there. Check out the awesome show on Prime. All episodes available as of time of recording.
Yep.
So that's going to wrap it up for this one. Until next time.
Peace
Peace
out
out.
and
And
geek out.
geek out.
out.
Thank you for listening to the Family Geekery podcast. For more information, visit www.familygeekery.com. Don't forget to subscribe at your favorite podcast provider. And until next time, peace out and geek out.